What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first official episode of the Chapter 1 podcast with Casteel DECA. I'm your host, Brendan Carter, and I'm more than excited to start this series with you all. Whether you're a returning member, someone who's interested in DECA, or someone who needs to find a little bit of guidance through your journey, this is the podcast for you. Every episode, we're going to break down how to dominate role plays, navigate upcoming competitions, connect with leaders, and overall make your high school DECA experience something that is unforgettable. So let's start at square one. What is DECA? So officially, DECA prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management. But if we're dropping the textbook definition, it's essentially the ultimate launchpad to real-world confidence. And it's not just sitting in the classroom taking notes. DECA is hands-on. It puts you into the shoes of a real-world CEO, a marketing director, or financial analyst to solve real business problems and scenarios on the spot and pitch your ideas to actual industry judges. Plus, it's a massive global community. We're talking over 200,000 high school students across the world competing, traveling, and building networks before they even graduate. From state conferences to ICDC, the scale of this organization is unreal. Now, I didn't want to just give you the brochure pitch. I wanted you to know why I personally fell in love and decided to pursue DECA. I'll start with my spark. When I first joined DECA, it was pretty much out of nowhere. It was my sophomore year, and I had an extra elective. I was doing basketball, I chose to do culinary, and I heard a lot of good things about our marketing program here at Casteel, so I just decided to check it out. After the first debrief on DECA and the whole class got introduced, it was something that really ignited something in me. It was something that I found, oh, this may be a new avenue I could take, a new path, something that I would want to explore. So getting into it, going to events at the beginning of the year like FLC, and even our own classroom, socials, I think it was just something that really took me by storm and swept me off my feet in terms of what I'm interested in. Next, I wanted to share what really makes DECA so worth it to me and what I love so much about it. For me, I would have to say it's definitely the competition. Just the whole experience as a whole and the environment is something that's really unreal and not anything that you're gonna get much other places unless you're really putting yourself out there. Going to those state conferences and even district conferences where you're interacting with many local schools and kids who are either the same age as you, a little bit older, or even a little bit younger, depending on how old you are, it's something that not a lot of people get to do. So I would say when it comes to the competition, being so immersed in these role plays and these scenarios is what really sells it for me. I'm someone who likes to live in the moment and take things head on. So if I'm given a task for a role play and I have a judge that I need to present to and I need to get a good score on, I want to do that full-fledged. So I think that's really what takes me to the next level when it comes to enjoying my DECA experience. Specifically last year, it was my first time doing role play solo. It was my second year at DECA, so I was trying something new. My first year, I did partners at district, I did partners at state, and then I ended up qualifying for ICDC, but that was off of my written project. So this was the first year I was doing my role play solo. And I will admit, I was pretty nervous. I went to districts at the beginning of the year, and I was in the entrepreneurship category. I didn't place high, and it was basketball season, so I didn't even get to stay for the award ceremony. But moving into state, I wanted to change things up. I did entrepreneurship, team decision making for my whole first year, and then my second year, I'm doing it just solo. I felt like I had to step outside of that box, and luckily, DECA has so many different categories that you can participate in that it was very easy to just step out and try something new. So that landed me on retail merchandising. Me and one of my good friends, Lucas, who you'll meet very soon, we decided, let's make this switch. Let's see what this new category is talking about. So I got thrown in, and in my very first role play at state, it was high stakes. At state, you want to be able to qualify for ICDC, so you want to put on your best performance. And me personally, I flipped over that role play sheet, started reading, and light bulb. That's all I can say. So really one thing led to another. I ended up doing super good at my first role play, And then we also had a second preliminary role play. And those two I did good enough on to allow me to qualify for being a finalist. So I did my finalist role play. It was super late at night. Everybody else was out, having fun, interacting and stuff, which is another thing that I love about being at these competitions and being with everybody. You just get so much great experiences. But as I'm sitting there by myself with these few other people who are with me trying to do good on their final role play, it's just, you really got to bask in the moment. You really got to bask in the moment. It's like, I'm here to put my best foot forward, to step up to the task, and that's something that I very much appreciated. So I ended up doing pretty good on my role play. I ended up placing 8th in the state, which it wasn't enough to get any glass, but through some technicalities, I ended up finding myself at ICDC for my role play, and that's a whole nother story for another day, but it's something that I would never regret, and I'm happy that I was able to get there for my second year in a row. Lastly, I just wanted to go over why I took a leadership role in my chapter here at Casteel High School. So my first year at DECA, I believe that it was something I picked up on very naturally, just being in that mindset of an entrepreneur, a marketer, having that very business-oriented mindset, and I wanted to do a lot more. So going into the next year, luckily I had the opportunity to campaign myself and try and become an officer for our chapter. I ended up landing on the position of the Vice President of Hospitality, and I had an overall good year. We had a good group of kids, a lot of people that I got to grow with, and though it was pretty rocky for me because I was the only junior. The rest of the officers were seniors. I was the only junior, so I was a little bit more standoffish, but as we went through the year and ending at ICDC, we became very close, and those are people that I hung out with afterwards, and as they're all going off to college, I'm here holding down the fort. So it's just a legacy that I'm grateful enough to carry along. And then that brings us to this year. So I feel like there are a lot of kids who either don't know what they want to do in their future or want to get more acclimated with something that they didn't know much about before, like how I was. I stumbled upon marketing. I stumbled upon DECA. So me getting such a great experience out of something that I didn't have laid out for me is something that I want to allow these other students to enjoy. So me just being a voice, being a face, someone that somebody can come to for advice, for tips, test prep, anything. I think that's what I want my role to be here. And I'm just using my abilities in communications and media, being able to produce videos, being able to be personable and putting myself out there. I just want to use those to the best of my abilities, for sure. So yeah, that's kind of my why. I just want to be here and be someone who can progress our chapter as we want to become one of the best in the state and give a lot of kids the experiences that I got through my journey through DECA. Looking ahead for this DECA season, there's a lot lined up for this podcast that I'm so happy to be able to share with you guys. We have tips for how to do role plays in your only 10 minutes of prep or 15 if you have a partner. And we have a lot of episodes lined up with industry professionals, alumni, and you're eventually going to meet the rest of our wonderful officers. So before we wrap this episode up, I have 2 things to ask of you. 1, make sure to go follow all of our socials on Instagram and TikTok. Pop those up right here. And after you do that, just take some time to think about one career path you're potentially interested in. In one of our episodes, we'll be going over the different type of competitive events and possibly what careers line up with which certain events. So if you keep that in mind, you can be on the lookout for when we have that episode. Well, that's it for our quick intro episode. The next episodes will be a little more podcast style, but this was just so you guys get to know a little bit about me and a lot about DECA. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that follow, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for the next episode. Make sure to share it on all your socials once we post. We'll have stuff on our YouTube and our Instagram. So yeah, thank you guys. Stay creative, stay driven, and let's go get glass and make this the best DECA year yet.